share screen and whiteboard and a few other features for the future. And I'm really excited about us actually coming together and finally being willing to do this amazing collaboration. I think the world is not even gonna know what's about to hit them, and it's going to be a surprise, a mind blowing surprise. So I was tinkering with some of the options there, but welcome. Thank you for joining. Perfect. 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 Thank you for joining me again. Welcome back, everyone. It's your girl, Akut Alegna Kaur, and this is Truth Pure Love. And this is also Donatella, Empress of Swords. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hi. Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. Thank you for joining me.
It's a pleasure.
You are on YouTube, and you are an amazing clairvoyant and psychic and clairsentient and all of the above. And you and I have been working together relentlessly on several different projects. And tonight we're talking about karmics, but I wanted you to go ahead and introduce yourself and your.
Hello.
You can plug this in. I'd like for this to show on both channels, and for my people to connect with you, and for your people to connect with me as well. So go ahead and introduce yourself.
Well, hello everyone. My name is Donatella Mushek. I am also on YouTube. And I wanted to say I am very impressed by your channel, Angie. You are amazing yourself. It's just an honor to be on your channel right now. I am definitely a work in progress. I haven't been on my channel for about a year. There has been a spiritual journey that I am also taking too at the same time. It's like when you have your own channel and you're doing readings, there are times that you do have to take breaks. You have to be out for a little bit because you're learning a lot in the spiritual realm. Once you're tapped in, you see a whole nother side, a whole nother portal. You have access to something that you've never had access to before. And sometimes not everyone around you can actually have access to that. But once you're in that portal, once you're in that realm, you do have to have some time out for it to understand exactly what you're aligning with.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure you understand what I'm talking about. When it comes to the spiritual path that we have to take. And part of that journey is the intuitive path, the empath part of it. And as you're becoming, as you're developing your psychic abilities, you end up running into mentors, and you have become one of them. And I'm just so very grateful and thankful. We were opening access to information on the Akashic records. And as Angie knows, and I'm so appreciative and honored to be on your channel, with my background, my nationality, my bloodlines, we originally from Assyria. And if you guys ever knew about the Sumerians and the old ancient tablets, my last name is even derived from Moses. Our family line and our background and our language, the Aramaic language, it goes really, really back to the old ancient Egyptian times. And that's where me and Angie are, our conversation, it really rings a bell, like to history. Whenever we talk about spirituality and what the ancients did, everything is cycling back again. And as it's cycling back, the funny thing is that I told Angie, I said, hey, my middle name is Anakin. And even though it kind of feels like we're going through our Star Wars right now, this is an old ancient time that is reoccurring. The patterns are going there. It's like a systematic pattern that keeps repeating itself. And as we have become stronger spiritually, we have developed, even back then during the Sumerian times, we were developing different ways of divination. The Assyrians were the inventors of astrology, astronomy, mathematics, irrigation. A lot of this came from even before the times of Babylon. And one thing that I did learn is that this is actually a group effort. It's a group project to be spiritual. You can't just do it by yourself, because as you're going through these, through the progress of, setting your bar higher and becoming a spiritual being, less of the flesh, but more of the spirit. You are understanding how important it is to collab with very important people, such as yourself, Angie. I've learned that myself. And as we are involved with very spiritual people, you are attracting karmics. They're like a moth to the flame. It's like the pattern of the alpha, how the alpha has to deal with a bunch of fans. We were talking about fans earlier. And one thing is not to let it stress you, because the enemy is always going to tempt you in different ways. And your first instinct is survival. Your first instinct is to see that light, to be able to breathe, to be able to express yourself. And with a lot of spiritual healers, if they're able to support you after you express yourself, you begin to level up in a way. And, all of you begin to level up in a way where trauma doesn't even bother you anymore. You're not triggered anymore. All your memory comes back in, and you can learn these steps as lessons to help other people. And that's what this journey is that we are able to express our experiences to help others. It's not to hinder anyone, but it's helping other people to level up. Your solar plexus, if we're going to talk about the chakras, your root chakra, your solar plexus is constantly being affected. If people are, reducing your confidence and not supporting you, because I know for a fact that every single person in the world is gifted some way, somehow. We all have a gift somehow. And if we cannot embrace each other's gifts, we're losing something, right?
Yes.
It's extremely, it's a team effort. And when people think that other people are A, karmic, B, toxic, these are energies. That's what we need to understand, because we need everybody in humanity as a whole to work together. As soon as we can become honest with ourselves, honest with other people, these readings are a way, it's like a form of counseling, I feel. It's psychologically, it's like psychological help, but in the spiritual realm. It's connecting, it's not religion, but it's connecting spirituality to where you can really understand it on a whole 360 level. It connects all of us together.
And so at what point of the spiritual journey are we bound to, or have you noticed, I know that you have also done a lot of mentoring as well. And you've even given me a few people to mentor. Excuse me. But with the people that you've mentored, where along the spiritual journey, and then, you can also incorporate your own testimony as well. Where have you noticed that the karmic cycles come in, and they kind of, in my own interpretation, I would say that they escalate in value, from karmic value, from a low scale to a higher scale, as well as we ascend in a divine aspect. Okay, so if we're receiving light energy and we're ascending in a spiritual community, becoming that light, becoming that spiritual being, becoming able to manifest and attract in our soul family to help us with these lessons and these memories and these remembrances, so that we can go into that embodiment journey, right? Where are your people having these karmics come in and do this destruction? For me, it was really at my lowest point of life. It was at my lowest. And for most of the people that I've mentored, it was at their lowest. They were experiencing these literal demonic and karmic attacks, not knowing what they were, only to discover, and myself included, that we had literally been surviving this our entire life. We were made for this, but we didn't know this. We had to get the smack down, get the beat down. We had to have those towers to bring in that spiritual journey. We had to get hit by that train, that spiritual train, to have the self-awareness that, hey, this is a spiritual journey. You are on a spiritual journey. And guess what? There's more to your life than what you're doing here, right?
Absolutely,
So,
I agree.
But people, that is a period of time. That is a period of actual karmic cycles, where
it's all generational.
Men are at different levels of frequencies that they escalate with you. All right. The stronger you get as a warrior, the bigger and the badder and the scarier they get as demons. You know what I'm saying? You're tackling bigger and bigger demons. Where are your people noticing that this is karmic, and and this is a cycle, and I can actually end this. I can actually take control of this. Where are your people recognizing this?
I think all of us as humanity, it's all generational karma. We are stigmatized from whatever we're thought to believe as children, what is acceptable and what is not acceptable. But me personally, on a personal level, I learned about revelations, the end of times, when I was 12. At the same time, I was learning about zodiacs and astrology. I was mixing spiritualism without even realizing it. I was trying to understand as much as I could because, you know, on one side of the family, I had 3 generations of pastors from my mother's side. And on my father's side, they were empaths. They were trying to decode spirituality from birds, clouds, divination, coffee cup readings. That was acceptable. But on the other side of the family, the opposite was not acceptable. It was all scripture reading and things like that. But when you come from 2 of these entities, each other, they could possibly think that each other is karmic. You could be the root of 2 karmics. And it doesn't have to be your fault, but that's because it's like you're born out of a Romeo and Juliet scenario. You know what I mean? And it all depends on how you look at it, because the 2 different flames could be something amazing. It could be prosperous. It could be beneficial for the world. And it also could be corruption. It depends on the person's perspective, because it doesn't matter what's happened in their past. It matters what decisions they're going to take in the future. Are they willing to help humanity, or is this all for self-gain? And if you're willing to help humanity, are you going to get suckered into doing the wrong thing and then all of a sudden stem off from your work?
Are you finding that your clients are focused on a twin flame journey when they're having this pivotal shift, realizing that this is actually a spiritual journey? Like, this is karmic. They're all around me. I'm a black sheep. I'm chosen. I have gifts. I'm not crazy. Where are they? Are they, looking for this twin flame journey, looking for this twin flame?
You have to have some sort of boundary. If a person has broken your confidence to the point where your back is constantly bending to outside of what your limit is, you're going to lose yourself. And me personally, I had faith in Christ, where I knew where my boundaries were, where I knew that if I break this certain spiritual law, I will have the worst karma on myself if I do the wrong thing. So me personally, I had to make the right decision. But when you give this kind of boundary for other people, they already know not to step this boundary already. They go and try it on somebody else, somebody much weaker. They'll possibly even put you down when they can't break you down. There's people that are trying to manipulate just so that they can break your will. And it's not that they're a bad person either. It's just that they don't know any better. They haven't seen how karma can affect them. They're just letting that karmic will.
You're talking about karmics and narcissists.
That behavior is stemmed from some kind of generational karma, where the person is thinking in their mind that what they're doing is okay. Just because if you can't have that conversation, where if you're constantly ignoring people because you can't have that conversation of what is logical in the behaviors of another person, they're avoiding their own behavior, and all they're doing is putting you down instead of helping you up. It's at that point where they're trying to cut you off. So if they're cutting you off, they're doing you a favor. They always say that too. If somebody's cutting you off, they're doing you a favor, because you guys, it doesn't mean that they're technically, or I mean, what's the right term to say this? It doesn't mean that they're actually a bad person or even a karmic. It could possibly mean that you guys are on 2 different paths. They have a different goal.
So are the people that you're mentoring are mostly looking for their twin flame, discovering that these are all karmics. Am I right? Isn't that kind of, I mean, most of it is what I experienced myself. I know, that's what you experienced. Looking for your twin flame, all you found was a load of karmics, a fucking basket full of karmics. And is that, my question is that where your people are? Are your people thinking and believing that they're on this twin flame journey when they're discovering you're not on a twin flame journey, you are a twin flame who's ending a karmic cycle first and foremost?
There's those of us that know exactly what a twin flame feels like because we've had that level of feeling. And then there's those that have never experienced that yet. They haven't gotten to that heartbroken point where, oh my gosh, I just lost the love of my life. For those people, they're taking it as a joke. And some of them have already gone through that process where they've even gotten sick. They've even had a heart attack even. the stress, but because they've lost the love of their life, they take everybody else as a joke afterwards. So it depends. I mean, there's different categories of these people, but all of them are searching for a light that they can hold on to. And this could be like that vampire effect, where a person is just trying to suck your life out because it gives them that mojo so they can focus on work. It gives them that ego. You know what I mean? Some people just need their ego to be full. And as long as you could just keep filling their ego, they could just, procrastinate on what really matters and instead just focus on building their income. It's more of an outside thing than an internal thing. And you actually create the environment, whatever you're feeling inside. That's the thing. No matter how much a person tries to cover up pain, hurt, or anything that you go through, whatever you're feeling on the inside, it's going to reflect on the outside. So if there is any competition in your life, if there's any feeling of lack, self-worth, it's going to have some kind of counter effect. And confidence is really something that's very important in a human being. It really is, no matter how much you've experienced in your life.
And we learned that lesson just a few months ago, that it really does go into many areas of your life.
We were talking about the different energies and the different spiritual experiences that we go through. And as we level up, we are going to have to actually collaborate more with a lot more spiritual people as we are in the age of Aquarius, as we are awakening. We're going to really need to learn how to work on a team level. There's going to be a lot of mentors going out there, and everybody, like I was saying earlier, everybody has skills, and we are all learning different lessons on different planes of life. Mm-hmm. And everybody is valuable. And all of these stories and all of these experiences, they all actually teach us something. That's why they create movies, and that's why they write books. And it's actually more amazing when all of these empaths and these emotional healers, these are all healers. If they come all together and work together, that's what's making it more beautiful.
So sorry. I'm not sure if you can hear that, but Spirit is going to town on a bone, and it's making it's crazy right now. So, that is an interesting perspective. I think the whole mix of the karmic and spiritual journey and cycle is it's a wait and see as it unfolds kind of journey, and no one has a manual for that. And a lot of people are spending a lot of time in lost energies, being misguided and misdirected, and just pulled off of their path, not realizing that it's a personal journey, looking for other energies to attach to, looking for vices and devices to satisfy their needs, but not realizing that everything is within us. And so when we she wants her bone back. Excuse me. Come. Thank you. Okay. So didn't work. All right. So we're experiencing a lot of interruptions with trying to complete this. I don't know if you're noticing that, but this is for everyone watching. This is our third take. And now we have animal interference. So interestingly enough, when you don't recognize where you are on your path, whether or not you're being pulled off your path or guided back onto your path, all right? If you're not in that self-awareness to know exactly where you are, obviously, you're just going to get led astray.
Sometimes you need help,
when you are led astray, you encounter along this journey, which is the fool's journey, you're going to encounter a lot of karmics along the way. And each one of these karmics will form an attachment to you that is meant to be a cycle. It is a contract consisting of a cycle. And that cycle will repeat as long as you refuse to look at what's happening. As long as you are in denial, as long as you are in fear, as long as you are projecting, as long as you are misguided, as long as you are obsessed and attached, and whatever the situation is, whatever vibration you are emitting as a frequency, you can repeat this cycle over and over again, be it with the same
Absolutely.
person or be it with many people who are on different frequencies of that karmic energy, whatever it takes to keep you in that karmic cycle, whatever it takes to renew this karmic contract. Okay. And a lot of these karmic contracts, as you know, you are expert at understanding this. And I want you to get into a little bit of your background. But as you know, a lot of these karmic cycles and these karmic contracts that you're experiencing are about protecting or invading another's bloodline lineage, stealing and robbing.
Well, sometimes it has to do. Sometimes it's like I was telling you earlier, sometimes it is generational karma. You end up dating the person maybe your mother wants you to date. Maybe you end up dating the person your father wants you to date. Maybe their only requirement of the person they wanted you to be with is financial status, social status, but they're not looking at the spiritual status. They're not looking at it at every perspective where it actually benefits you. Maybe they are looking at it where it benefits them. Maybe these karmic attachments that we have, we're just trying to do quality control. You see what I'm saying? People are sometimes fearful that if they end up in separation, that it's going to cause more damage than any benefit because it's opening another axis, another problematic force. The thing is that there's a lot of fear. People are dealing with a lot of fear, and there's hindrances that they cannot accept. There's hindrances that they cannot admit. Sometimes those people could be siblings. Sometimes those people could be family members. It takes a lot of guts and willpower to see past through that and work through that. Sometimes you have to be financially independent to break through these things, these karmic cycles. Sometimes you're getting assistance from somebody that is so toxic, you have no other right or will to speak up on it because you are being financially assisted. For those people, yes, my sympathy does go towards them. However, they need, like I was saying, the spiritual community, the empath community, they all have to have some kind of support system together, because this awakening, this healing, this support system, it needs to be universal. Because sometimes it takes the person to realize what they're trapped in and not to be fearful. Sometimes all it is just some kind of it's like, like Seven of Swords, how like it's this fear, but it's not Seven of Swords, sorry, Nine of Swords, where it's like this fear, but it's not really existent. It's, you need to be, there's guidance that you need. There's guidance that you have never been able to speak up on. And sometimes things are triggered by trauma. You're making decisions on things that you would think that other people would approve for you when you're not even sure what's best for you. And it like I'm saying, is sometimes it's from generational thinking.
So I myself would like to consider and call myself a generational curse breaker, aka the chosen one, the black sheep. I've been the scapegoat. I've been all of those things. I know that you could identify and relate with some of that. And
it's usually the most independent people are considered black sheep. The most independent, the ones that are not brainwashable. Those are the ones that are usually considered black sheep, because it doesn't mean that you're bad just because you're different. You have a different path to take. You have an experience on a whole nother level that someone else has not experienced.
Right. So,
and that makes you special,
You answered my question before I could even ask it. That's awesome. Sorry. Basically, what would you say to someone who identified as some of those names? And you're, like I said, you're always so futuristic, but you are absolutely genius. And I can vouch for you and your level of genius and your level of understanding in how this all ties to the Akashi and past lives and history itself. And a lot of it has been misconstrued and misinterpreted, and a lot of it has been lost in translation. The biggest and most uncommunicated loss of all of this genetic connection is the fact that we were all asleep and we don't remember. And so as we awaken, we experience all of this karmic suffrage. And
True.
the suffrage depends on our choices. Do we choose to continue to suffer, or do we choose to release and continue forward, move through the contracts as quickly as possible? I have a podcast where I speak about this called Cashing Out on Your Twin Flame. Basically, cash out on your twin flame, cash out. You want to jump in there, have this transaction, and cash out. So, what do you do when you go to the grocery store? You go get what you need and you pay for it and you get out and you try to buy what, you can get at the best value, for as little money as possible. And that's kind of what you want to do in your twin flame journey. You want to get the lesson and you want to get out of there. And that is how you navigate.
But how many times have we suffered when we don't make a grocery list?
Exactly. And exactly. And that's what karmic lessons, regardless of how they repeat, whether it involves the same person or other people, that's what they are meant to do, is to teach you these things one lesson at a time. And some of us have to repeat them to get the lesson. Go find your ball. Go find it. Go look for it. Where is it? Go get it. Go get it.
Sometimes we're thinking that the people that lack commitment are the most problematic people, but at the same time, it's the people that are more confused, the ones that don't even know what they want yet, the ones that haven't made their list yet. And, out of innocence, we could think, hey, I didn't manifest this. I didn't want this. But the problem is the lack of the thought that you have invested into not appreciating something right before it comes into your life is going to have a counter effect too. So if you're not ready for it, don't accept it and give a reason why. There's nothing wrong with someone else being on a different path, but you being confused and not being honest and genuine is when we're not on our spiritual path. That's what makes a person genius, is when you have to be genuine. When at the end of the day, no matter what, are your motives correct?
I don't think
are they truly genuine?
Sexier than authenticity.
Yeah, absolutely.
I really don't.
Yeah. And we can appreciate everything from everyone. You know what I mean? We could take a little bit of insight here and there from everybody. There's nothing wrong with learning from each other, but having your own individuality is absolutely very imperative, because knowing that you're special makes you different than everybody, and every single person has a different identity than everyone else. And it is like the missing piece of the entire puzzle to be an exact copy. Even twins are not exactly the same. My own dad is a twin. And even as I was little, I didn't even know my father was a twin until later on, when I was older, someone asked me, can you tell your dad apart from your uncle? And I said, yeah, of course I can. That's my dad. I didn't even know he was a twin until someone had told me later on. But when you know somebody on an internal level, there is nobody else that could ever match anyone else individually. It is absolutely impossible. If a person is being truly authentic, they are at their most higher level of being. And when you have your self-individuality, you are attracting a lot of attention. There's going to be people that want to be like you. There's going to be people that want to be nurtured by you. There's going to be a lot of people that want to be mentored with you. And that's great. That's absolutely great. But if you don't have a support system that's working with you, and then you have all these competitors that are coming in and competing with you, then it's going to be, if it's healthy competition, that's great, whatever, fine. But what we need more in the world is supporters.
Right.
We need people that are more understanding.
Which is vibrating in our soul family, our soul tribe.
Absolutely. And every time I was bringing up experiences, even from in your early 20s, you have these friends that are like, hey, don't talk about this problem. Don't talk about that issue. Don't bring this up. And underneath it all, it has nothing to do with you, but they're projecting out of themselves because they don't have it today.
And I'm like, I can't believe you just said that. Like, it's my
they have their own insecurities.
No, not accepting that, especially not in 2022. Yeah.
What happened?
I said, we're not accepting that, not in 2022.
No, because every single experience that you have is going to help somebody else. And if you know you're doing something wrong, you're going to keep it under tabs. You know what I mean?
Yes.
But then we also have to go, there are people that really, 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 really believe in the evil eye. They think that if they talk about something, or if somebody compliments them on something, that it's going to sabotage them. Honestly, it's all perspective. There's people that are very insecure, that think and believe something is going to be taken away, or some evil eye is going to affect them. But it's really your psychic strength that you need to empower yourself, that you need to work on spiritually, you know, whether it's through praying, whether it's through meditating, whatever your spiritual path is, you have to strengthen yourself like a muscle spiritually.
And those characteristics that you're describing, it's very interesting. These are what I would call karmic strengths. They are divine weaknesses and they are karmic strengths. And this
we shouldn't be we shouldn't be triggered at all.
We can't be triggered when we are healed. And this is what the whole karmic cycle is about those unhealed parts of ourselves. And a karmic soulmate, whether it be a karmic soulmate, you know, at any level, even a karmic twin, and we have many, regardless of what karmic role they are playing in our lives, the whole reason why they're there is to teach us the lesson, is to show us who we are, is to show us what's hurting inside of us, is to break us open so we can step into our truth, so we can finally be authentic, to take that mask off once and for all and say, you know what? Fuck them. Fuck it. Fuck this. I don't really believe this.
And that would be hard for an insecure person. And that could be really hard for a person that's insecure, that is relying on other people for support, because you're constantly worried if you're going to be attacked for saying things, doing things, trying to be. I remember for years, it was really hard for me to be able to be financially independent. Like, I always wanted my financial independence, but there was, you know, like, it starts out with your parent restricting you. Then maybe if you get married early, you know, your spouse is restricting you. But whatever you think in your mind that is restricting you, it can be internal. It could be mental, and you're not even realizing that you have the freedom to actually very charismatically have your way. You don't have to argue. You don't have to fight. You don't have to be negative. You don't have to be forceful. You can figure out a way where you can have your independence, but also have peace in your life as well. It doesn't have to be toxic. You have to, in a level of really healing and not triggering, you are peaceful with everyone. But you also know your boundaries too. So if you're unable to bring up issues that bother you, or you're not feeling like you could be vocal to release any trauma that you're going through, then the other person is being triggered because they have some other issue that they can't even tell you that they're dealing with. They haven't released whatever they're going through. Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. And it's all a form of communication. If a person is not open, and it's because there's triggers that they're not allowing to release. There's issues that they haven't been able to deal with or accept.
Yep. So what are some of your number one ways of releasing karmic energies to prevent any new karmic contracts from coming into your realm?
Having boundaries. I think every single person has had some kind of childhood feeling of like fear or neglect, or some kind of trigger from their childhood. I think it's absolutely normal. I think 80% of families, I heard, that they come from either separated or divorced parents. And if you are in the 20%, then you're not considered normal anymore. So at some point you have to accept that not everybody is perfect. That's the first thing, is accepting that not everybody is perfect. And then when you're able to talk about different experiences and get over certain things because you're not sensitive anymore, because you're able to communicate with others in a form of teaching and not disrespecting, but in a way of teaching, then I feel that you're able to heal because you're doing it in a form of teaching.
Mm-hmm. Well said.
Like mentorship.
Well said.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you.
Very well said. I love, and I apologize, in the beginning of this, I said Princess of Swords, Queen of Swords. It's Empress. It's Donatella, Empress of Swords. My bad, y'all. Please check her out. Make sure you subscribe to her channel.
Thank you, guys.
Absolutely brilliant. And I want you to just try to explain to us a little bit and how we can understand how karmic cycles are linked to our lineage, and what we need to be looking at to pinpoint what needs to be removed from our life so we can get closer to our true, authentic lineage and our purpose and our soul's true desire.
So whatever is not healed, whatever you're feeling that you have a lack in, whatever void that you have, it's going to have a ripple effect, even 20, 40, 50, 60 years down the line. There are people that are in their 70s that are as immature as people in their 20s. Still, to this day, they have not spiritually grown. Maybe they have physically grown. They have become elders, but they're still immature. And it's kind of sad because there are people that are actually waiting for other people to grow. You know, there's people that say that they're in twin flame relationships. They say that they're in soulmate relationships, but they're dealing with a very immature person. And if you want to help, if you are absolutely sure that you love someone, you're taking a risk when you're wanting to help them because you don't know if they want to get help for themselves or not. That's the thing right there. And this nowadays soulmate thing is so different than how it was a long time ago. I mean, in the 40s and 50s, people, that's it. They were married. They would stick together. Usually you wouldn't really hear of people separating. It wasn't really that. It was really rare that people would.
Yeah.
And now it's just become common where there's broken families or blended families, or where the parents, one parent is not in the picture. And that does really affect the generations, because then they have this mentality where relationships don't work. The only thing that they do believe in is relationships that are not monogamous, because of just what they have seen. And I'm here to tell you, whatever your perspective is on life, whatever you're going in through internally, whatever you're feeling inside it's going to be reflecting on the outside. But sometimes it's good to take a break. So you could have a relationship sometimes, and some relationships are meant for a lesson. I had started my first relationship when I was about 17, 18 years old. And at that time, you're not really knowing and understanding what you really want for the rest of your life. Right. Yes. I mean, even at that young age, I was learning how to manifest things. Yeah, I was making my list of the perfect person I wanted, but who was perfect really at that age? You know, you don't even know exactly what you want at that time. Right. And then you go and invest 13 years of your life, and then you realize, I'm not even the person that I want to be. I don't even appreciate myself. I don't feel like I can grow anymore. And the other person is miserable. They're not understanding why they're upset with you. You're not understanding why you're arguing with them. And it's because you guys are not even on the same page. It's not because that person typically doesn't even have to be a bad person. You are just on a different wavelength, and you had a mission in life. And if you would have focused more on yourself, you would have known what your mission is.
It was a classroom. It was school. It was a lesson.
It's literally a class. And there's, I heard that there's 3 big pinnacles that we go through. In numerology, there's like 3 huge pinnacles that you go through. And some of us are in trauma. That's why we're getting married so early. Maybe at home it's not peaceful.
I refuse. I've had so many engagements and been engaged a few times and had many proposals, and I just would not do it. And I said, no, I just feel it in my soul that there's someone special for me, and he was going to come late in life. And I know what I know, and your soul knows, but you have to have so much self-awareness to even tap into your soul on that level. You know what I mean? Right. And it's that inner child that has to be continuously nurtured, and that relationship with that inner child, which means continuously going back and continuously having self-evaluation where you are healing that trauma. So as
some of us are looking for a savior.
Everyone's trauma in the bloodline is healed, and there is no savior. Yeah. You are the savior.
You are your own savior.
You're the chosen one.
That's where we get lost. We end up getting attached to somebody who we believe is our savior. And as soon as they disappoint us, it's the most horrific disappointment that we've ever experienced. And the only time you're attracting karmic energy is when you are attracting somebody that is beneath you. You have to accept that you did not appreciate yourself enough that you accepted somebody that was beneath you, beneath any boundary that you ever allowed. And that's when you wake up, is when you know your self-worth. That's when you're on a spiritual level, when you're starting to realize your self-worth, especially when you're going through a period and stage of your life where you want everything right. You're on a path of being right yourself. You're trying to do everything that's right. If you cannot be aligned with someone that is doing the complete opposite, you're going to run into friction. You're going to have arguments. You're going to have secrets, or they're going to have secrets, because you guys are not aligning. If you are not mirroring each other, there's going to be some kind of, there's always going to be some kind of mirroring, honestly, whether it's negative or positive. And that's just going to reflect on,
and you'll take turns,
how you work together. Yeah. And it's like going to the sea and trying to fish together. You're two fishermen. Are you competing, or are you working together? Is somebody getting the bait? Are you getting the tackle? Like, are you being loud while you're trying to get the fish? Are you causing drama? Are you while you're trying to fish? And all of these things matter. All these consistency and not being consistent. All of these things actually matter. But when we are immature, we kind of haven't had that experience yet to know exactly what we need and want.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And disappointment really hits hard, especially when you're starting to really understand and realize who you are. Disappointment really hits hard. Mm-hmm. And starting over is another issue for people too. Because when you are planning to start a life together, there's a lot of plans you need to make together, and dividing those assets and dividing families is something that needs a lot of support within the community. You could see children being affected. You could see business people being affected on an everyday level. Every single person it's like a domino effect with your community and your neighborhood and your friendships. It really is a domino effect. Like, everybody that is hurting, you think that it doesn't affect you, but it really does have a counter effect.
Downward.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does.
So true.
And that's why I really appreciate your channel, because one of the first things that I noticed is that on your channel you have been very genuine to talk about the positive things, talk about the negative things, to be very raw. To be able to express that has made more people confident to be able to express it themselves, so that they can get out of the experience that they're going through, which makes them stronger.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
I appreciate that.
Thank you. I'd like to share more. I would like to share more. I've been through, I know trauma. I'm a demon slayer. I know trauma, and I can kick some traumatic ass, and I'm good with that. And, I have come into my knowing, and I know who I am. And, you have been, stellar. And actually the last, part of my journey where I've been connecting some very, very important dots in my own life. And the gratitude, is I can never give you enough gratitude for that, for your support in that, and for being able to hear your own soul, having that level of self-awareness to where, you were able to resonate with mine. And you had called me in a long time ago. Gosh, when did we connect? It was like, what, 2018, 2019. Yeah, ish. And you were right. And we have, been on a journey in our own way, okay?
Yes.
Unfolding our own story, and then helping to assist and unfold each other's for each other, with each other, by each other. So it's been a beautiful thing, but that takes, and you've got to admit, we've gone through hella healing. Okay.
Absolutely.
Hella healing and hella cleansing, hella purging, hella praying, hella, we've had to break down and be real with ourselves.
Absolutely.
That shit was not easy on any level. And so I know myself, there were moments where I just couldn't do it alone. And, I called out from my soul. I never had to call you. I just called out from my soul, and everything and everyone that I needed showed up. And you were always one of those people. And but that's what everyone has to look forward to, is that beautiful bond, that soul bond that we have, and you have it with others, and I have it with others too. We have had the strength to heal 3D trauma so that we can call in that 5D family.
Yes.
You know, and that it takes so much strength. It takes so much courage. It takes self-awareness, and it takes, like you said, very, very, very strong boundaries. And unfortunately for myself, I didn't really learn the lesson of having boundaries until later in life. And unfortunately, it cost me a lot. And when I realized, when I did the math, I said, holy shit, not having boundaries cost me A, B, C, D, and E.
And these boundaries have cycles too, you know? Sometimes they're like
Yeah.
on and off, like,
And they spawn, man. They
yeah,
spawn. That shit
yes.
spawn. You know how I feel about spawn. And so Angie, don't play that no more. We ain't spawning shit over here. I'm gonna need you to go that way. So yeah, no boundaries. I got it. That was a tough ass lesson. And like I said, I had to repeat a few karmic cycles to even learn that I didn't have boundaries. I didn't even know I didn't have boundaries. And it took cycle after cycle after cycle to understand, oh shit, this is because this keeps happening because I don't have boundaries in this area. Because I need to learn boundaries. I need to learn self-love and what is my boundary and what is important to me and what do I want to protect and at what level of boundary do I need to implement in order to have a strong level of enforcement for boundaries. It takes time. It takes learning.
Yeah.
It takes heartache. It takes.
But if you don't know what you want, like let's say I don't know what I want for these next 5 years, I don't have any boundaries either because I didn't know what I wanted. And it's not fair to the other person because some of them out there, they're not intuitive. They're not psychic. They can't understand what we want either. It's up to us as individuals to tell other people exactly what we want and need from the get-go. If you cannot tell other people exactly what you need and want from them, you cannot be, for one, you cannot be genuine. And just because you're trying to be a nice and shy person, it's not beneficial for anybody, honestly. This age of Aquarius is going to have a lot of people coming out of their shell. They're going to have to speak up a lot. You know, maybe it might be a little rude from the beginning, but they have to get past that point to be a little bit more honest and authentic. People have to be a little bit more authentic if they want to have boundaries in their life. And my motto is as long as you're not hurting anybody, you should be okay. You know, like you should know as an individual if you're hurting somebody with whatever you're doing. If you have to be dishonest, you have to keep secrets, you have this private life, whatever. I mean, I understand if you have this outstanding product that you have, it's going to be coming out to be sold in the next month. Yes, we have to keep it under tabs. But if it's like Sally Jessica that you're hiding,
yeah, that's a problem.
It's a problem.
We're not doing that over here.
No, we're not dealing with that. So,
that's karmic.
And that, you know, that's what a lot of these young people especially don't understand that. Yeah. They get this conception where they're protecting the other person when that other person doesn't even need protection. They have completely drove themselves under the bus because they didn't have respect for themselves. And we're going back to that subject of having boundaries. And if you don't have your own vision board, you don't understand what you're going to do for the next 5 years, you don't understand what your goals are, and you're not bringing it up to the people that you need support from, every time that they bring up your lack, not that they're a toxic person, but they have no interest in helping you progress.
Oh, no,
there's something that is, if you got to ask yourself why this person is not supporting me. That's the question that you need to ask. If you cannot ask that person what their issue is, then that means that there's something underhandedly being hidden, for one. If they tell you what the issue is and you can't do anything about it, then that means there's a conflict of interest. There's some kind of war going on between you and them. You got to figure out what that war is. And if that war can't be solved, then you got to go on top of that boss or on top of that level above to figure it out. And that spiritual strength takes a lot from a person to go to the next level up. Let's say you're getting bullied by somebody. You need to go above them. That takes a lot of strength to even talk and communicate about those issues. And if you don't know who you are on an individual self level, yes, or if you feel like you have guilt, you will be suckered down. Yes. You'll be suckered down because they will manipulate you and intimidate you just because they need to have power over you. Yes. And why do they need to have power over you is the question. Yeah. Why does anybody need power over you? First of all, if there's give and take, aren't both people having support, right? Yeah. Aren't both people having support? And if there's no agenda, why can't there be communication? What is delaying the communication? Why is there being a delay? Is there something in this void needing to be filled that you can't communicate? Right?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Communication.
So this is what this journey has been. And every single time I've had to take breaks from tarot, I have my own channel too. And I mean, it's not as elaborate as yours. I got to give that to you. But in my experience, every once in a while, periodically, I have to take rests between understanding what's happening between all these 12 zodiacs and the issues and the deals and the cover-ups that have been going on, the things that we're figuring out, the things that have been happening underhandedly between people is.
It happened again. This was our third try, you guys. Let me see if she's going to jump right back in. I'm not sure if she's going to jump back in. That would be great. But I'm going to go ahead and just go ahead and wrap up basically the conversation and pray that she jumps in. I know that her phone was cutting off. And so it may actually need to be charged. And she's working really hard to stay connected. And we're at a different time zone, so things are a little challenging for her at this time period, and much more relaxed for me where I am. So anyway, moving forward, when you are releasing a karmic and you are recognizing, first of all, you need to go into an absolute period of introspection. You need to be able to look at all of the things, the situations, the people in your life, and really analyze what controls you, what is holding you back, slowing you down, blocking you, or whatever it is. And, whether or not it's a karmic situation, it could be, like she said, it could be an actual bloodline curse. It could be, family curses. It could be witchery, warlockery. You don't know. But if you're not willing to, grow in your own spirituality, to be able to have the wisdom, the strength, the gifts, the tools, the knowledge, the wisdom, whatever it takes to be able to identify who and what is karmic, you're not going to have the strength or the tenacity to be able to make those changes. You're going to be stuck. You're not going to know what to do with who or what. You're not going to know how to, heal yourself in these situations. So it starts with identifying and recognizing the karmics and then removing them. I can't get back to the meeting. Where are you? Zoom. Here we are. Okay, perfect. Sorry, I clicked out for a minute. Okay, and then once you identify what they are, because some are just things, some are just bad habits, some are just ideas, some is, rooted in your core belief system. All right. Some is actually people who are in your life. You have to decipher exactly what that is and be decisive and absolutely cut it out and don't go back. And just to share a little bit about, what that was like for me, I eventually, and over a very long period of time, discovered and realized I needed at one point to cut everybody out of my life. No questions asked. Just everybody must go. And that's it. And I had to be okay with that. I had to decide that that's what's best for me. And, man, woman, and child, everybody had to go. And that's what I needed to do. And that's what was best for me. And that's my story. And I'm sticking to it. And you may have to decide that for yourself. You know what I mean? But that is the best way, the closest way, the only way I can think of for you to be able to take a good look at your ego and why you're not able to hear or listen to, adhere to your intuition, and take another look at karmic cycles that you're replaying over and over again. And this is generation after generation, where you can actually take the strength within you. And, once you make these analysis of what is karmic and what needs to go, you can start to break these generational curses, not only for yourself, but for your family, your lineage, your children going forward. But some of you are living in karmic cycles and you're choosing this and you have karma to pay for some of you for eons to come. Some of you will never be able to pay back all of the karma that you've caused. Some of you will be done at the next cycle. I don't know. You're all in different places. But it's up to you. It's up to what kind of life you've been living, what kind of person you've been. But you have to be authentic. You have to step in your true authenticity. You have to speak your truth. You have to be your true self. You can't be somebody else. You gotta be you, and you gotta get out there and be the best you. You gotta choose the brighter side of things. You gotta choose the happier side of life. You gotta choose to let shit go. You gotta choose to be light. You gotta choose to ascend, because there are so many levels of this ascension process to get to where you need to be in order to not have that karma. You understand what I'm saying? To not have these karmic relationships, these karmic cycles, these karmic situations, to have to pay karma, to be afraid to go, touch, look, see, hear, because you know it's going to cost you. Okay? To where you can just have a life of manifesting divine contracts, divine counterparts, divine people, divine experiences, divine blessings, new divine memories, new everything of the divine. But you've got to clear out the karmics. You've got to end it with every karmic. I don't give a shit what. I don't care. Your children, your wife, your husband, your brother, your sister. I don't care. Your boss. I don't care. Cut them out. Cut them off and be done with them. And don't look back. You cannot look back. You got to keep moving forward. So that is the key to releasing karmics. And, you know, you're not just healing your today. You're healing past life lineage. You're healing generations back, and you're healing generations forward. But it's a lot of work, and only the strong survive this kind of spiritual work. All right. If you're not going to get off your ass, and if you're not going to do your spiritual work, you're always going to be karmic with karmic. You're always going to be struggling. You're always going to be suffering. You're always going to be in pain. You're always going to hurt. And hurt people. And the cycle repeats. All right. So, I don't know. I just choose a different path. I know there's a different way. I don't live like that. So